Welcome to this thing called life.
Hello, Michael. How's it going?
Yo, what's up, dude?
Not much, man. Episode 17 here.
Yes, Cinco de Mayo.
Yes, happy Cinco de Mayo. How was your week?
It made me weak. I'm tired. It was a long week.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. That's good. How's
To be honest.
how's the new shop going?
Stressful and fun and exciting and scary.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's fun being part of owning a business.
Yeah. How about yourself, man?
No, same old, another day.
Yeah, another day, another dollar.
Yeah, had family up this past weekend. So mom and dad came up from Virginia Beach to visit and stayed with us. Got to see the little one and whatnot. So we had a pretty full house. My cousin was also up. So we had a pretty full house. We hosted and, here we are calming down on the wine end.
Cool, man.
So, anyways, joining us today on this podcast episode is a good friend of mine and my wife's, obviously. And she is a very talented human being, if you will, especially when it comes to yoga and also, I guess, if you want to say circus art. So, without further ado, let's welcome Lana to the show. Lana, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. We're excited. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and moved up to New Paltz when I was 17 for college and never left, and that was 10 years ago. So that's, I guess, that's a quick sum up of
Sure. Sure.
my life.
So what college was it? New Paltz?
Yeah,
SUNY
SUNY New Paltz.
Gotcha.
I was studying music therapy, and I have a degree in pre-music therapy. I would have to go to grad school in order to actually pursue it. But so I'm not currently doing music therapy, although I have a degree in music. And now I'm doing yoga and circus arts for a living and bartending sometimes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. So,
That is awesome.
would you have
Thanks.
something?
Yeah. I have something right away.
All right.
Right away.
Go for it.
So, do you go back to the city and travel often back to the city, or what do you do?
My parents are still down there, so I try to go down to the city, although lately I've been trying to get my parents to come up to New Paltz because they've kind of just been like locked in the city for years, and New Paltz is really awesome, and there's beautiful outdoors and trees and fresh air and stuff like that. So yeah, I've been trying to get them up more often. But yeah, I'm going down to the city actually this Friday to go see my friend's circus show, so that should be fun. Might get some training in the city also.
Nice.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
Do you prefer upstate over the city, or
definitely. Yeah, definitely.
because of the nature? I guess you'd say the
Yeah,
outdoors.
I like the pace of the quality of my life, and the pace up here is a little slower, and the people are a little nicer, and
A little.
and I find that there's plenty to do up here. I mean, some people say that living in the, upstate areas can be kind of boring. Maybe there's not enough to do for some people, but I find that I very much oftentimes have not enough time to do all the things I want to do. So I feel like it would be even more overwhelming if I lived in the city and had more things to do.
I peeped your Instagram and just now, and I was just going through things, and I'm a big Instagram person too, but I noticed the energy in all your posts are so like, I don't know, you have a culture. You're in this subculture that is just, the energy is crazy, and that's really, really cool. And so, can you give us like a little bit of background on how you got started into yoga? It feels like yoga is, and I know you do other things, but it feels like yoga is kind of your foundation for everything else you're into. Is that true? Or
That
so
was
how'd you
where
get
I
into yoga?
started. Yeah, I started doing yoga when I was in high school in the city, and it was my cheap therapy basically for my anxiety and depression. I went to a studio called Yoga to the People, which was a donation-based studio. And growing up in the city, my parents were like not starving artists, but definitely like not wealthy artists. And so I would have like a $5 lunch ration, and I can't really afford a $20 yoga class on a $5 lunch ration. So I would go to Yoga to the People and I would donate what I could, whatever I didn't spend on lunch. And that's where I started to learn how to, breathe and take care of my body and my mind. And I became obsessed with yoga in high school. And basically, if people wanted to hang out with me, they had to come to yoga. That was how.
No, dude, that's how it works, though. I mean, that is exactly it. Once you find your thing that you love, you need to have a circle of people around you that do the same.
Yeah.
And you can see it on your Instagram. Like, your Instagram is like, it's just so much energy in one, kind of united feel, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Were you always good at yoga, or did you have a natural knack for it? Like, as soon as you did your first Warrior One, where you were like, hey,
no,
your first vinyasa, where you're like, hey, this shit is dope.
No.
No?
I oftentimes joke that I feel like I was one of the weakest and least flexible people I knew, and like I was just super high strung, super anxious, and kind of had a tendency towards being really melancholy and shy. I had a lot of social anxiety, and I could barely touch my toes and couldn't do anything physical really, and I was really bummed about that. So once I started doing yoga, it kind of gave me the motivation to take care of my body.
I've done some different yoga videos via some workouts and then programs and things like that nature. I've never done a community program before where I meet with a bunch of people and do yoga. I'm absolutely horrified of yoga, and I've done it, and I'm always, there's a respect I have for it that is just so, I did it recently because my body just felt like it was breaking down, and I remember doing yoga before, it almost like massaged my nervous system and taught me kind of how to rethink and restructure the way I look at my fitness and things like that. And God, if you've never done yoga before, try it. If you think you're a tough guy, try it. If you think you need it, try it, because it really is dope, but it's the most challenging thing I've ever done, period. Like ever done. It's hard.
Yeah, and there's easier types of yoga too. I also teach some restorative yoga classes where you just lay on a bolster and take a nap for like an hour and 15 minutes. That's one of my favorite types of yoga.
I need that.
It's a good balance for all of the acrobatics that I do nowadays.
Dude, you're amazing at that, by the way.
Thanks.
Crazy.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So tell us about that. Like, so you do you work with Mai, right? So
yeah.
Is Mai the owner?
Yes.
Or okay, so Mai is the founder, I guess, if you
Mai
will.
is the founder and owner of Hudson Valley Circus Arts, which is in Kingston in the BSP building on Wall Street. And I started with I want to say in my sophomore year of college, so that's like maybe 2010. And I started taking classes with her, and also kind of like in the same respect that I became obsessed with yoga, I also, fell in love with aerial silks and started practicing with her every week. It started with just one class a week on Monday nights. And it was like that for, I want to say, maybe 3 years, just one class a week.
Wow.
Yeah. And during that time, she and I were training privately, and she was I was basically apprenticing. What's the word? How do you say it? Like, I was basically doing an apprenticeship with her over a few years to learn how to do aerial silks and also learn how to teach it. And once the building or the company that we were housed in, we were in Ultimate Gymnastics in Gardner. Once that company kind of fell through, we ended up moving to Kingston, and she started Hudson Valley Circus Arts, and then I basically followed her there and supported that venture.
Yeah, and that is how Lana and myself met, because my wife started going to do the aerial silks and everything like that, and she's been doing it for a few years. Obviously now with the kid, it's a little tough getting over there, and and that's how we ended up meeting. So Now, to branch off of that, it's Hudson Valley Circus Arts has just really, really grown
Yeah.
since then. It's doing so much more now, obviously, besides the silks. And for people that don't know, I guess, if you will, just so the easiest way to explain it, I'm guessing everybody says it probably is, it's like bed sheets that hang from the ceiling. And, you see it in like the Circus Soleil type stuff, and people go up and they climb the silks, if you will, and, they get wrapped up in it, spin around, but, they get wrapped up rightfully and a correct way to do it, if you will. I may not be the best at explaining it. So why don't you go explain it for us?
Yeah, I
For
mean,
the listeners.
they're called silks, but they're actually synthetic nylon, so it's not as pretty of a title. But yeah, they generally hang. Our fabrics hang about 17 feet high, and you do acrobatics and lift your own body weight in the air on the fabric. And we have other apparatuses as well. We have Lyra, which is it's an aerial hoop that hangs and spins from the ceiling. We also have hammock, which is a sling. So instead of the two split silks that hang and touch the floor, the hammock is just like a sling that doesn't touch the floor. And that is, in some regards, easier for some people because you don't have to hold up your own body weight because the sling holds you up in some places. And it's also totally challenging as well. There's, things that are challenging on hammock, and, we also do acro yoga, which is partner acrobatics. And we have hula hooping taught by Brianna. That one's, a little bit more common knowledge, I guess. Hula hooping is just regular hula hooping, nothing hard to explain there.
But it's extreme hula hooping.
Extreme
she
hula
is
hooping.
awesome at it.
Yeah, she does headstands while a hula hoop spins on her foot, and she'll like do crazy back bends while spinning the hoop on her hand, and she's pretty awesome.
It'll be lit on fire sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes she has the fire hoop.
It's insane.
Yeah. Extreme.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's wild, dude. I was checking out some of that stuff, and I was like, yo, I wonder if anyone ever like falls or gets injured doing it. Like, in what typical injuries are, what's a commonality that happens with something like that? Do people get injured? I mean,
we've never, knock on wood, we've never had any major injuries. I would say the biggest injury that we've ever had was somebody, instead of putting their foot on the crash pad, their foot landed on the floor when they were coming down off of the fabric, and then it ended up just being not like a major injury, but how it feels when your foot just lands on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts.
It's like the word aerial. I mean, you're in the air, so I'm imagining like, holy shit, like you're in the air. That shit's scary. I feel like,
yeah.
I mean, maybe I would fall. I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to put myself in that position. Like, maybe I would fall if I was up there. I don't know if I would freak out.
Yeah.
But obviously, you're probably not gonna do it if you're scared of heights, I guess. How high, really?
Say that again?
Like, how high are you up there? Like, when you're actually doing it?
Well, generally we keep everybody low to the ground until they're strong enough and ready to do things safely up high. So I would say generally like a few feet to several feet off the air until they're ready to take it higher.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And that shit's hard though. Because like the one time I ended up going to a class with like Danielle, and they're like, I had tried it. Let me tell you, you have a whole nother level of respect for the people that do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
For sure. So it's
Is it
awesome.
a lot of core strength?
Oh yeah, definitely. A lot of core strength and arm strength. And actually a lot of men will have an easier time with some of the strength building aspects of it because, men have inherently a little bit more upper body and core strength than women do, but women have a little bit more grace, I think. I'm not saying that men can't be graceful or that, women can't be strong, but I definitely have worked very, very, very hard to develop the amount of strength that I have in my core and my arms, and so yeah.
So you recently, getting back to you now, you recently just got back from a trip.
Yes.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
What happened there? What you were doing?
Yeah, so I was in Jamaica teaching acro yoga at an acro yoga festival. So acro yoga, like I mentioned before, is partner acrobatics, where one person is a base usually, and one person is a flyer, and then there's you're lifting the other person in the air, or doing stuff like that. And that is one of my like biggest passions. And it's kind of hard to say which avenue of or which discipline, I guess you should say, I like most, because there's yoga and there's acro yoga and there's circus arts, and I love them all. And acro yoga has like a really deeply special place in my heart, because it's the thing that I do with all my closest friends and the people that I live with, and my boyfriend. So basically I was doing acro yoga in the ocean. I was doing handstands on people's hands in the water, and then also on the beach, and doing some high level skills. It was really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How do you like Jamaica?
Jamaica's awesome. I loved it there. Such good people. Really good food. Everybody moves at a super slow pace. It takes an hour for food to be ready, so you just have to always prepare yourself to wait an hour for anything there. But yeah, it's really nice. It's warm. It's hot.
Hot. So what's like one of the because you've traveled to many different places, I guess, doing this stuff. Like what's one of the coolest memories you got for like where'd you go? Like what happened? Like what was one of your favorite times, I guess, out there traveling?
Man, that's a good question. I've traveled a lot. One of my favorite things is traveling, and really it's interesting. What I've learned after traveling a lot is that it doesn't usually matter where I am in the world. It usually matters more who I'm with, rather than where I am. And I would say probably my trip to Greece 2 years ago was maybe one of my favorite trips, and not necessarily because of, Greece is awesome, but I met some of my favorite people. Well, I guess one of my favorite person, not my favorite. Anyway, he is currently, I kind of jokingly call him my acro husband, even though we have nothing romantic at all. It's like he's my platonic acro husband. His name is Raja, and he and I teach acro comedy classes, and he and I were actually just teaching in Jamaica together, and we're teaching in Detroit together in July, and we're teaching in New York City in August together. And we joke that we're going to be teaching for the rest of our lives together. And he's one of the funniest people I've ever met, and I just absolutely love him. And he lives in Lebanon, so he is nowhere near us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Mike, you look like you wanted to say something before.
I have just too much going through my mind right now, but it's so cool how the world is becoming a smaller place where you can share your interests in your life with other people. I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
Without finding your passion, like, so you wonder, like, would you have opportunities like that in life? And I don't know, like, I think about like people like you. I travel and I do what I love as well. And I think, like you said, it's who you're with.
Mm-hmm.
And so that place that you were at is going to mean a lot more to you when you're with awesome people.
Totally.
So I think that's pretty cool. I don't know. I appreciate you sharing that with us, because a lot of people, I think, they're scared to chase their passion. They're scared to chase what they love the most. And when you do that, look, Lebanon, that's crazy. And, like Greece, that's crazy. A lot of people never leave their home. So
yeah,
their
that's
comfort
awesome.
zone.
Is that your favorite person to work with? Is this guy?
He, we work together. He's the person that I teach with who has the same amount of level of like certification, because we met at our level 2 teacher training together. And he's definitely the funniest person that I work with. And I would say more locally, I've kind of like trained my students up to be my co-teachers, and I feel like the word students kind of makes them seem less important to me, but they're like some of my most important people in the world, and I actually live with some of them right now. I have a really special relationship with the people that I do acro yoga with, and
Like,
Yeah.
like that's got to be one of the first things I said to Danielle when the first time I met you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the first time I met you was that one time we went over to your house. And do you remember this?
Yeah.
Do you remember? And you're like, Dave, come on, let's try acronym.
Yeah, and
come
I
on, let's
based
go.
you. I
Yeah,
put
and
you in
you're
the
like,
air on my
you're
feet.
like, yeah, let's go. I'll put you in the air. I was like, what? like this chick's crazy, you know. But
we have a photo of that somewhere.
yeah, there is. And no, it was like, and then after he left, like the first thing I said to Danielle was just like, there's something about her energy that's just so positive and just so awesome, and like how Mike was saying too, you know, just going through your Instagram videos and all that, and just seeing the energy that's there and everything, and you really got that.
Thanks.
Shining by yourself, just like how you were talking about your friend over there in Lebanon. Like it's just like you are the same way, just so you know.
Oh.
So, anyways, that's one of the positive things I like about Lana.
Aw.
I mean, there's many, but
Shucks.
yeah.
Yeah, Dave told me we need to interview her, and I was like, oh, I'm down. I mean, whatever, you know. And he showed me the Instagram. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be good. Well, like okay, so don't misunderstand what I'm about to say, but like from the outside, like what you do might be considered weird by most people, because most people don't go around, you know, manipulating their bodies and using their bodies in such a beautiful way, and you know, it's a very niche thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, when I see something like that that's unique, I'm like, that is so cool. We need to find out more about that, because a lot of people, they just want the regular shit. You know, they want like the whatever's popular right now, you know, whatever's trending, you know, whatever's hot. But things like that, like the little niches and stuff, that's what gets me going a little bit. So I don't know. I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's very cool.
Sweet.
And then the
Awesome.
positivity on top of that always helps. I think we need more positivity in the world, and and humility. You're obviously humble. I can just tell by, you know, for those of you listening on the podcast, we're actually looking at each other right now, and she's laid back. She's got her legs folded. She's chilling. She's relaxed. You know, her energy is just calm and chill and positivity. She's smiling. They're laughing. It's really nice. Like, it's very refreshing to have that. So appreciate you being on today too.
Yes,
Taking your time.
Thanks.
absolutely.
That's super sweet. I really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
And going back to like having, you know, oh God, my God, I just had a brain fart. Well, I just had the thought and it just went away. That like going back to, you know, having, I guess, a positive person in your life too, and it's just so important. You know what I mean? And I think like for like Danielle, like that's you.
Aw.
You know
I
what I
love
mean?
Danielle.
Yes, you know, and like, and you know, obviously she has other friends that are also positive, but like, you know, there's, like I said, there's something about, you know, like this one over here. It's just the positivity is just through the roof, and it's awesome.
Aw.
But,
So,
but it's like,
you guys are awesome. I
thank you.
really like you guys too.
so can I ask you then, based off of like that, are there certain things that you do? Do you have like a habit or a routine that help you maybe stay positive or put you in the right mind state?
There's this one gratitude meditation that I used to practice it more often, and I think it's almost kind of like, you know how when you practice something enough and you like kind of make yourself do it, you just kind of naturally do it on your own without having to think about it. I find myself just being grateful often, just feeling gratitude often. Like, for example, the other day a friend was visiting town and she brought like wine and cheese and like prosciutto, and I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm so happy this is happening right now. And we're all sitting around the table just like eating it, and I didn't even realize like how much I was appreciating it until one of my housemates and acro partner, Casey, was like, wow, I love how much you're appreciating this right now. Just like little things like that. Like, you know, I guess not taking those little moments for granted. And I mean, I guess that's kind of like a decadent moment, you know, drinking wine and cheese and eating prosciutto. But yeah, sometimes just, you know, the little moments can be really awesome.
Oh yeah, gratefulness is like key, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, and then people might be like, "Oh, you're being dramatic about it's just wine and cheese," you know. But it's like, yeah, you might be dramatic, but at the same time, like using that energy to say, hey, I'm grateful, whatever. It goes a long way with other people too. It does a lot for other people. So I think that's cool. Great. In the morning, I get up and I list 5 things I'm grateful for when I wake up, and that usually helps me kind of start the day on a good foot. That's kind of like my routine. I love that. And I think Dave just plays drums for like 4 hours in the morning. I think that's how he becomes grateful.
It's like a half hour. 4 hours.
Oh, okay. All right.
Right after the wife
hour.
and kid leave and she goes to work, I'll play for like a little bit just to get my day going and get some blood flowing in your body. It's good.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes there's like
Lana, music. Do you play any music? Are you a music or?
That's funny. I was actually right before you said that. I was just gonna say there's like a song that I often play in the morning and sing along to that like helps inspire a little bit of gratitude. The lyrics are the first few lyrics are basically like it's like, oh, every morning I rise, I stare at the sun, I know that it is a blessing, so when the evening comes I lift up my arms to the air, I'm blessed, so my. Basically just like being like, the sun is shining, I'm blessed, it's, awesome. Anyway, I still do sing backup harmony in a couple bands. Actually, my roommate Casey, who I already mentioned, she is also a musician. She also went to SUNY New Paltz for music, and she is one of the most talented songwriters that I know, and she's just like prolific with her. Like I want to say almost every week she has a new song, and I'm always baffled, and she is always surprised that I'm surprised about her new song, and they're always great songs. And
is she the ukulele player?
Yes.
Is that her?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's Casey. So she actually just last month put together, over the last several months, I want to say, she put together a group of really talented musicians to play behind her in her music, and we played at a local dive bar in New Paltz recently, and she performed 14 original songs that are all amazing and put them together in several months, and I just think she's so awesome. And I sang on maybe like half of them, but yeah.
I think you're awesome.
Oh, you're awesome.
like you don't get to meet people like you too often. You are I think you are the instrument. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
Like you
Elaborate.
are. You're like your body. Like you're like a vessel of like just creation. Like you move your body. You sing amazing. I just heard your voice. Your voice is like outstanding. So like you just do stuff that's just art. Like you are just the instrument. It's cool.
Thanks.
It's pretty cool. Yeah,
Aww,
like you're bragging about some other person right now, but this is an interview about you, and you're all bragging about your friend.
That this was going to be like a ego boosting interview.
Well, I mean, not to be weird, this is why we interview people to find out who they are, and this is who you are.
Yeah.
This is how I'm seeing you. It's my perception of you now is like she can just do everything. She is an instrument. Like it's pretty cool. Yeah. Badass.
And you can do it too if you want. Come take classes.
Shameless plug. You better go.
Come take my class and be awesome.
Do it or don't and be stupid. No, I'm just kidding. But you are stupid if you don't go. No, I'm just kidding.
So speaking of that, where I guess you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but where can people find you and Hudson Valley Circus Arts? Yeah,
so I'm currently teaching in Kingston at Hudson Valley Circus Arts, which is inside BSP, 323 Wall Street, I think. And then I also teach in New Paltz. I teach yoga at Vitality Yoga Flow, which is in the Tops Plaza of New Paltz. And I teach a range from restorative yoga and yoga basics, which is, the more chill side of things. And then I teach a more advanced class called an elixir, which is a more of like a fun, fancy, flowy yoga class with like arm balances and inversions and then a little bit of relaxation at the end. And then I also teach acro yoga at Vitality.
Awesome.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah.
What is your biggest struggle in general? You could talk about life or yoga or whatever angle. Just what is your biggest struggle? What's the hardest thing for you to overcome or that you have overcome, I guess?
That's a good question. My most recent, I want to say, was just like boy drama, but that's not really related.
How is it not related?
Well, I mean, it's not related specifically to circus and yoga, but yeah, I guess what I would say in the past like 10 years, my biggest struggle actually has been learning to really value myself and love myself. And I used to have a super low self-esteem and low, self-image, and I've built that up over time, and I, love myself for who I am now, but often the way that my lack of self-love, or I guess it kind of translates in terms of like putting other people in front of myself, putting the boy as more important than me, in which case like my most recent thing was I stayed in a relationship that wasn't really healthy for me because I cared more about him than I cared about myself, and ended up in me being miserable for months. And then finally broke that off, but and now I'm in a new happy relationship, so that's good.
That's awesome. Yeah, people with big hearts, that's what happens, dude. Like, yeah, that's what happens. They always put others ahead of them, and then shit happens. But yeah, thank you for sharing. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I think that's, do you have anything else, Mike? Was that it?
That was my major one.
Okay.
I always like to ask that question with every, because I don't know, I feel like you learn the most from that.
Totally. Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for
coming
having
on.
me.
Absolutely. And hey, like you said, go out, try it, because it is awesome. And I mean, I wish I had more time to try it, but I'm getting myself back in shape. I'm doing good.
Dude, just like 20 minutes is like amazing for your day. Just to start your day, like it's
It
awesome.
It is positivity.
Yeah. Just do like some basic shit. Just try it, like,
That's it.
Yeah.
It. So
you have her right there, bro. If I was you, I'd be like in that shit, dude. I would take advantage of her. I'd be like, yo, teach me the ways.
Okay.
Teach me the ways of the Jedi. I would, bro. If I was you, I'd be like, nah, you got to teach me all this stuff.
Just so you know, that came out a little weird in the beginning, okay?
I was going to say.
What? What did I say?
Used to get up all up in that.
And then
shit.
you were like, take advantage of her.
I'm not referring to her.
It just sounded a little weird at first.
I'm referring to her.
Okay.
Her abilities. That sounds bad too. You guys are
Mike,
perverted. I
stop.
literally meant that as innocent as possible.
Stop while you're behind.
I meant that so innocent. Like, she could teach you
I know.
yoga, bro.
I know you meant this so positive.
We're trying to get rid of the dad bod over here,
That's it. Anyways, Lana, thank you again for joining us. Now this is awkward. Thanks, Michael.
Do you have a dad joke in this podcast?
Yeah, we gotta keep that up though. I don't have one
Yeah, we
right
do.
now off the top of my head. Oh, you have one?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I just Googled dad jokes.
Hey, that's it.
Yeah.
So, Lana, thank you again,
You're
and
welcome.
we'll catch up with you later.
All right.
Bye.
Appreciate you.
And that was Lana joining us. Thanks again for hanging out and doing this interview. Guys, don't forget to head over to www.ttclpod.com. You can find all of our social media jazz over there. That's all we got for this episode. We will catch you guys next week. Peace.